a round, perfectly round fuselage. It's made of really thin balsa, 1 or 2 millimeters. That's 2 millimeters or something, and that's 1 millimeter. And nice hollow tube, great for a rubber band powered plane. And so, how did I make this fuselage? First we'll do a quick preview. First, you cut out the size balsa wood you want, and so it's just a little bit bigger or a bit smaller than the diameter of the broom handle you're going to wrap it around, because it's pretty well impossible to get it perfect the same diameter, so you have to settle for a little bit less or a little bit more. Depends on how big how thick, how wide your fuselage you want. The fuselage, you can make it a bit wider than the broom handle or a bit narrower. I'm going for one that's a bit narrower than the broom handle, so therefore I'm making it a bit short of the diameter, so there will be a gap when it's wrapped around the broom handle, you see. And so we go to the next one now, get the balsa wood the right size, how you want it, and then the next one is to soak it in water overnight. And then, that's it, that's pretty simple. And then the next step is you dry it out with a bit of rag or something, or a tea towel or something, and then you put it on a hard surface and sort of roll it like a rolling pin. You can use a rolling pin, use anything you like that's round, to roll it and push on it fairly hard, and do it on both sides, roll it both over that way it just makes it a bit more pliable, so when you wrap it around the broom handle, you see. The next stage is wrapping it around the broom handle. There's the balsa wood being wrapped around the broom handle. You just sort of massage it and everything. It's like, it won't do it instantly, it takes a little while, but it's fairly easy, and it's amazing how pliable it really is. Now, once you've got it wrapped around the broom handle, and it's still wet of course, so you notice there's a bit of a gap. Anyway, you just wrap flight rubber around it. Don't wrap it around too tight, just firm. It still puts impressions in it a little bit, but you can't help that. But you just got to be careful, don't make the impressions too intense, because you can wrap it around lots and lots of wraps there, you see, and not much pressure on each one, but the overall pressure is plenty to hold it, you see. And you just tuck it in on each end to tie it. Don't need to tie anything. You'd not tie a knot on the start if you like. Anyway, the next one is taking it off the broom handle when it's dry. It'll take a day to dry on the broom handle. Then you take it off. But there's a gap. Okay, you can just stick it together like that, but it's going to be a little bit out of shape. And so, what I done is I just massaged it a little bit with my hands. Instead of wetting the balsa wood, I just blew through it and stuff, blocking the other end, etc. Blowing into it gives a bit of moisture. And it's amazing how pliable it really is. You see that part there, it's quite a sharp turn there. You could turn that around the same radius as that, well, it'd be really small, it'd be just a bit bigger than a pencil. And so it's amazingly how flexible it really is, still is, you know, when it's dried even, you know. Probably the rolling might help with the rolling pin idea, but notice it's overlapped quite a fair bit there, see? And just leave it there for about a half an hour. And what I did is just worked it a little bit with my hands. As you see, I did there, I overdid it there a little bit, you see? And just work it a bit so it goes around and seems like it's more agreeable to the new thinner diameter, you know what I mean? And leave it there for about a half an hour, and then go to the next stage. You take it off, and then look what we got, a nice perfect round fuselage ready to be stuck. Now the gap's not actually perfectly even, of course, so you have to even out the gap as much as you can, and then go to the next step. You glue it, and you do the same thing again with the flight rubber, or you can use elastic or something like that. Flight rubber's the best, I think. Rubber bands are okay, but you've got to be really careful because you get too much pressure on each one, you see. With this where you don't have the pressure. It's only very thin stuff, thin balsa wood. Anyway, there's a problem with when you stick it together, the axle seam, which you can hardly see, there it is, just see it, goes parallel with the tube. It's got to be perfectly parallel, and where they meet there, the two pieces of balsa wood can be varied. Once the rubber bands are on it, you can just move it around, twist the whole thing, you know, you just twist it, be really very careful, and you can get this seam to be right parallel with the rest of it, rather than being cockeyed and on an angle, you know, because you got to watch that. That's all, when you're gluing it together while the glue is still wet, you see, and make sure that they stay joined. But they're pretty well stay joined because the rubber band's not much pressure on it really, and it's just naturally wants to be like that anyway, but you still got to be diligent. And then there's the next step. The completed rolled fuselage. Take the rubber band off, and I just wet the impressions with just a, what do they call, one of those cotton bud things, and with water, soaked them with water, and just went right around all the impressions left by the rubber, which weren't very much anyway, but, and then let it dry and give it a light sand, and of course sand the seam. You got to sand the seam off and make it nice, and there it is. The real thing, is it? No, it's still on YouTube.